design. Design for life. What is that? So we have two experts here and two people with no idea. We possibly have all the gear, no idea. So let's talk to Jennifer first, and she'll tell you all about herself.
Hello, I am Jennifer Jakowski. I am a registered psychotherapist, a certified Canadian counselor, intuitive life coach, and I do use human design in my work to help people come home to who they know they are beyond the conditioning and who we're told we are supposed to be. It's those moments where we go, I knew that about myself, but I never gave myself permission to be that. That's what human design can do for us.
Okay. And our other expert, Angela.
I'm going to hold my hand up and say I'm not an expert. I dabble. So I have learned little bits about it, but not a huge amount. But in my normal day-to-day, I am a kinesiologist working with people where they're at right now to get them to where they want to be. And a lot of that is to do with where they are truly aligned. And that's where human design comes in to help with that situation. Is again, dabbling, not quite as expert as Jennifer yet.
Well, you got more experience than we do. Mary.
I'm Mary Corbett. I'm coming from Ireland, and I'm in the process of designing my new life. I've decided it's time to design. So whether I'm going to be curious to see if what I'm doing is fits with what you're saying design for life is. So I'm going to be very curious today. Just warning you.
And isn't it wonderful to be curious? I'm Leslie Marsh, and I have designs on human design, I think, because I really want to know what's going on. There are things that happen and things that don't. And I'm sure that happens with everybody, or doesn't, as the case may be. And no, I haven't had chocolate, Angela, and I haven't had Kit Kats, so we're fine. In my normal life, if you
Fine
can
is
say,
debatable.
yes, in my normal life, which is also debatable, I do things like NLP and hypnotherapy. I also do a lot of other things. But I like to play in the mind, in the sandpit that is the mind, because all the toys are there. So let's go on and listen to what's going on. Jennifer, on you go.
All right. Well, to what Angela said, I don't know that I would be considered an expert either, but I have played in it for quite a while and I love to deep dive. That's the 1-3 in me. And that is a profile that I have, which is about how we are in the world. So, oh, golly, in terms of where to start. So if you're not familiar with human design and this is brand new to you, human design is a synthesis of various spiritual, scientific, and mystical traditions. So it's super cool. It brings in the I Ching, astrology, Kabbalah, quantum physics, human genetics. It's a lot, but it's a beautiful system for reading your energetic blueprint to help you learn how to quiet that sandpit mind that you were talking about, Leslie, and start listening to the body, to the authority, to the parts of you that hold your inner wisdom. So according to human design, each person has a unique energetic blueprint, and that determines our individual design, and it gives us insights into how we function energetically. And the more that we're able to understand our design, the more authentic our experiences can be.
Okay, so I might not get this right. I'm either a manifesting generator or a
You
generating
are
manifester.
manifesting generator.
Manifesting generator. Right, okay. What's that?
Do you want me to go or do you want to, Angela?
On you go.
So when we're talking about aura types in human design, we have 4, sometimes considered 5. It depends on the school of thought that you buy into, aura types. The generator, which includes the manifesting generator, is about 70% of the population. Split that in half, manifesting generators are about that 35%, give or take. You also have projectors. That's what I am. That's about 20% of the population. You've got manifestors, which is about 10. And I say about because we have reflectors, which is less than 1%. So there's that wiggle room kind of space. Manifesting generators and generators are those that have their sacral center defined. Defined means that they have consistent access to that center. It's like the Energizer Bunny. They keep going and going and going. As long
Chocolate
as
or not.
as long as the battery is put in properly. So the way I like to explain this is if you think about when you put a battery into something, when you put it in properly, it makes things go. But if you put it in upside down, the battery gets drained and the thing doesn't work. It's the same kind of idea for those who are generators and manifesting generators. That sacral energy is going to tell you, yes, this is the greatest place. I'm going to plug the energy in here. I'm going to have all the energy I need, and I'm going to actually build energy as I do it because it's correct for me. Or it says, no, if I plug into this thing, my energy is going to drain. It's not going to be good for me. This isn't going to work. And so if you plug into it anyway, whoop, down goes the energy and you are wiped. This is where burnout and exhaustion and all of that happens because you're plugging into things that are not correct for your energy.
That explains a lot. Well, for me, personally, it explains ME.
You're looking puzzled, Mary.
I am, because I've been talking with people who are in the recent times who are, say, in their 60 to 70 age bracket. And they are an interesting bunch of people because they're shifting from full-time work mode to not so full-time work mode or no work mode. And I'm wondering, the batteries might have been functioning fine when they were going and going and going and going and going. And now they've been told, oh, actually, you can do nothing.
So that might not mean that they were
that.
plugged in properly. That might actually mean that they were plugged in improperly and that they've drained that battery and they need to figure out what is going to bring that energy back. So the other piece to this that's really interesting is generators, including manifesting generators, that 70% are the only people who have that sacral defined. Everybody else, the other 30% of the population, does not have that sacral defined, which means that they don't have consistent access to that energy. Projector here do not have consistent access to that energy. But when I'm around manifestors and manifesting generators, or if I'm around somebody who lights that channel up, that highlights that for me, which we can get into at some point. But what that means is I have times where I tap into that energy and then I can go, go, go. But if I'm not careful, I'll go, go, go until I am so exhausted because I'm not even using my energy. It's depleted. So there's going to be times where you're working with somebody and they have that defined and they just need to figure out what they want to plug into next. And then there's going to be other times where you're working with somebody and that was never the energy they were meant to be in the first place. It was just conditioned energy that they were riding that has now caused them to shut down.
Does that make more sense for you, Mary? Are you seeing anything with your clients from that perspective?
I think that, I suppose, to bring it back to people whom I'm with, those conversations I've been having, I think some of them were they were doing the stuff they really were in tune with, and now they've been told you can't do that anymore. And so there's a mismatch because they need to find, well, can I find something else that I'm as in tune with? And it's interesting, they don't want to actually retire. They want to stay doing what they were doing. And others, oh, well, I've stopped this and now I don't know what to do. And you're going, what do you like to do? They actually don't know because they've no idea. And my curiosity is going to, I wonder, would they be the sort of person who was absorbing other people's energy for years and they were on this wonderful treadmill for 30, 35, 40 years, making loads of money and working hard. They have zero idea who they are, what their energy is, where it comes from, what's important. So there's lots of scope for some good conversations ahead.
Well, and there's so many places that you can go within human design to explain these different areas. So I have a pretty little chart. So if you're looking at human design and you get a body graph done, it's going to look something like this. Colors may vary depending on the system, the person's that you use. But generally speaking, it's going to always have these components. So this is a human design body graph, and it has the 9 centers. Each of these numbers within the centers are what we call gates, and each one has its own energy associated with it. Then we also have the channels that also have their own energy. Lots of stuff going on here. But when we look at what is inspiring to me, we're looking at the head. If this is defined, we have a consistent understanding of what is inspiring to us. We're able to tap into that more consistently. If it's open, and by open and undefined. So let's talk about that for a minute. All of the ones in this chart would be considered defined because they're colored in. On a chart where it's not colored in, which just means that the inside of this is going to be white in any of these centers, that means that it's either undefined or open. Again, we can get into the bits and pieces of what all of that means. Open just means that none of the gates are activated in it, whereas undefined means that there's a gate that might be activated in it, but the center itself is not defined. I'm going to just say them interchangeably, so just to make it so that we're not too into the weeds. So when a center is defined across the board for any of them, it means that we have a consistent energy within that center. And each center is responsible for a different type of energy. So head is our inspiration. Ajna is how we process information. Consider it like the library in your brain. The throat, of course, is our speaking, but it's our doing, it's our metabolizing, it's our ability to act in the world. And then we've got our G center. This is love, direction, identity. Our heart or will or ego center. This is our willpower. Our spleen, which is survival. Our sacral, this is that energizer bunny that I was talking about. Our solar plexus, which is our emotional, and our root, which is it says here pressure to do, but it's also about evolution. It's our pressure to grow and evolve. Okay. So when these are defined, we have a consistent pressure, a consistent energy around those particular things. When we are open or undefined, what happens is we are not consistent. And that is both wonderful and challenging at the same time. They all are. One is not better than the other. It's just different. So what ends up happening when we're undefined, say undefined solar plexus, when we have an undefined solar plexus, we don't have our own consistent emotional wave, but we're feeling the wave of everybody else who's defined around us. So what happens in an undefined center is we can mirror that and then amplify it, sometimes to the point of distortion. So as an undefined solar plexus myself, you're mad at me, or I'm more mad at you. And I'm going to tell you why I'm more mad at you. And then you're going to get angrier. Oh, well, now I'm going to get angrier. And without knowing that that's the mechanic of what's happening, I don't know how to catch it. But when I know, okay, this is my undefined solar plexus reacting to the energy that's being given to me, I can go, not mine. And I can
So
step away
Leslie, pay
from it.
attention, that's you. I've dug out Leslie's chart.
Okay. So this
Oh
is
my
this
good
is
grief.
this is the beauty though of what we do with human design, because we begin to understand, oh, so when I feel this particular thing, sometimes it's my own kind of patterns within. That's often our like shadow work versus conditioning that I'm getting from elsewhere, which is things that I have to release and change.
Was that a light bulb for you, Leslie?
Hmm. It reminds me a little bit of There's a particular spread in tarot, and it's Kabbalistically inclined, and chakras laid on top of one another, with the different elements just moved to a different spot on the chart. And in the Archangel Kabbalistic tarot spread, they are called gates as well. And I think a lot of stuff in Kabbalah is called gates for the thing. It's interesting though, because when you're talking about the head situation, I mean, a lot of stuff happens in my head. I'm not entirely sure it all happens in my sacral area.
So your head's undefined too.
You're just saying I've got my head up my arse, basically.
I did not say that. I said your head is undefined. And if you've listened to what Jennifer has said, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's just how the energy is coming to you and how you're picking things up. So let's take that language away, please.
Okay, so let's take the head for a second. When it's defined, we have a very consistent way of doing like our mental processing. So, head will never be defined without the ajna. Ajna can be defined without the head, just because of the way things are connected. But what happens is when that head center is defined, we have a very clear way of thinking about things. We're very consistent in the way that we kind of file information or process information. When it is undefined, it means that we are open to inspiration from all over. So think about it like a radio, and you're constantly tuning the dial, right? And so I'm tuning into this. Oh, I'm tuning into this. Oh, no, I'm going to tune into this. And so the experience that can often happen here, and you can tell me, Leslie, if this applies for you, is that somebody could go into one group and they're talking about something, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Then they go into somebody else and they're talking about the exact opposite. And you're like, yeah, okay, I could see that. I get that. Okay, I can understand what you're saying there. And you have to kind of get into your own energy and let go of everything else before you go, oh no, what I actually think is.
Yeah, I kind of see parallels where people don't see parallels. I can see when someone's coming up against something with two people who've got different ideas, I can actually sit there and look and go, right down the middle, they're actually talking about the same thing and they don't even know it.
But there's also that element of that you're carried along with the wave. And I don't know about yourself, Jennifer, but the three of us have all got undefined heads. So we're all in the same boat from that perspective. But it's that way of you'll listen to someone's talking about something and you can get carried away with it and swept up in it thinking, yeah, that's totally right. But you can do the exact same thing with all the other points of view because you're following along their thought processes. Does that make more sense, Leslie?
Well, the thing is that talking about the inspirational part, it's like somebody flicks a switch that someone will say something, it'll be a phrase or something like that, and I will go off on a tangent. And my head will go and find different resources. I'm like Google. You like that? Have some more of this. You might like this. You might go there. You might want to come here. And then it'll come back round, and then I'll see how I feel about it. Doesn't mean I don't like it. But if I don't like it right away, I will tell you.
Yeah. You said all three of you heads undefined ajnas as well?
So mine is, Leslie's isn't. I'm sorry, Mary's isn't. Leslie's isn't. So yeah, both of you got heads and ajnas undefined.
Okay.
That sounds serious.
It's again, each one of these things is fantastic because my head and ajna are defined. I am very I see things a certain way, I process things a certain way. When it's really defined, this is actually what Ra Uruhu, who brought through this system, said is like the crazy maker. Because with the ajna defined, we can be really certain. We can be full of shit, but we can be really certain about what we're saying.
About being full of it.
I can identify with that. I definitely can identify with that.
And so our work is to expand into what I love, and I always talk about the Tao, knowing, not knowing, right? That ability to say, just because I feel certain about this thing doesn't mean I know, and I'm allowed to expand. That's the work of the defined head and ajna, is to be able to expand beyond what they think they know. The problem that arises is when the undefined ajna, which in its wisdom recognizes that there is a ton of different ways to see something and a ton of different ways to understand it, is longing for that certainty. They see that certainty and they want to be certain. And this is where they can get very dogmatic about something, because they just want to be so certain. Well, you're certain. Why can't I be certain? And there is a beauty in the uncertainty, but unless they're willing to embrace that, then this is where both have work to do. Both have something that they need to release. For the defined, it is the certainty that they think they have. And for the undefined, it's that desire for certainty.
I remember in Glastonbury there was a car sticker and it said, "My karma ran over my dogma."
I like that.
And that happens a lot.
But there was no dharma. No dharma done. So the karma won. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, we do. We get
And off
so
there.
caught up in what we think we have to be, that we end up having to learn a lot of lessons, and then we don't live as authentically as we could.
That's what Mary was saying, though, because all the people that Mary works with, and I am of that generation, were always, you have to be this is what you have to be. And they kind of learn to like it. But then they, like addiction, they tend to get hooked on it so that it becomes this kind of survival mode to a certain extent. It's the only thing they know that keeps them alive. It's the only thing they know, the only reason they know they're living is because they're doing that. And then when retirement comes around and they just go, there you go, there's a gold watch, bye bye. And you sit there and look at that and go, so what the hell am I supposed to do now?
I got an email earlier today from somebody who wanted to know what to be doing to occupy their evenings and occupy their weekends and and I went, you just want to change your occupying with work to a bunch of other occupying. And then they're going, oh, we're going to have an interesting conversation next time we meet.
Oh my goodness, there go those
But
hands again.
I still haven't crafted the email response because I went, no, I'm not good. I can't yet. I have to think about this one.
It's not so much an occupation as an occultation.
I think it's that comment about conditioning, and as Jennifer was giving you the percentages as to the different groups, my gut feeling is a lot of people in power and a lot of people that decide everything for us are probably generators, and this is how they work, and this is how everybody else should work. And unfortunately, that's not the case for the whole population. It's a case for a big chunk of people, but it's not for everyone. And I think one of the things I learned with the manifesting generators, which I am, was the fact that I will flip around and do different things. I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I still don't. And I think that's totally fine now. Whereas younger, and how often when you're talking to kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Why do we have to pick one thing? And I think that to me would probably be very much the generator attitude of once you've picked it, that's your path for life. And I don't think unfortunately, I don't think that is the way everybody works. And then you end up in that position of, well, I've got to pick something and I've got to stick to that and I can't change. And and I'm now completely out of alignment because it might have been right for me last week, but it's not right for me this week. And I think you got that, and that's just the manifesting generator aspect of it. Jennifer, I'm sure you can bring in many projected examples on that one too. And I think it is just that concept that we're brought up and conditioned in a world that speaks to the majority, or possibly just the person in power as to how they work. So everybody else you just got to fall in line.
We're also being told, though, from millennia, it feels like, but decades and decades and decades of centuries of being told that once you've done that part, you're useless. There's no time left there's no point starting anything new because you're too old. What do you want to do that for? And we're only just, I think, starting to get to the point where we can say, yeah, I would like to do that.
But is
Maybe
that
I can try.
because lifespans are getting longer and we're having higher quality of life into older ages than we would have had previously?
Maybe, but I think also it's got to do with the fact that we're realizing that, particularly with women, when we hit the menopause, it doesn't mean that everything else goes out the window and we're absolutely, little old bag ladies in the corner bumping our gums about nothing and watching EastEnders all the time. So that we actually have something to contribute and we want to contribute and it's being realized. And actually, what we're doing is we're seeing the loop to where we were before we got industrialized to the fact that actually older people in general have a lot of wisdom and they really could be sharing it. And maybe we wouldn't be in the kind of messes that we get in, particularly mentally and emotionally, if we had that kind of guidance.
There's always exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
But I think there is that concept that as a society, we don't tend to value the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience. Yet at the same time, I know in the UK we're now at what, 67, 68 is now the retirement age. And
Mm.
that's just going to keep going up. Since I started working, I think for every year I worked in full-time employment, my retirement age went up by 6 months. So now that I work for myself, it had kind of stabilized. So it's a little bit worrying if I'm thinking if I choose to go back into full-time employment, that is my retirement age going to keep going up again. But there is that element that we're now getting to a point that the older generations and the older people who are still fully functioning, fully capable, are having a better quality of life. Partly maybe because they didn't do the back-breaking work, partly maybe because all of the time savers that have been invented over the last 50, 60, 70 years, whether it's washing machines that are just push a button, or if it's cooking that's easier, or if it's fridges, or whatever the technology is, it's made our lives easier and freed up time. And the fact that women have then gone out into the workplace and started to develop from that perspective as well. Menopause shouldn't be the end of the line. It is just a change, and we're balancing. I'm currently working through a course on that aspect at the moment, balancing the change. We change throughout the whole of our lives as females, and actually men have got cycles as well. So let's not put them to one side and say they don't have it too. There
I
is
did
there
say
is an
people.
element of it. I know I'm specifying the difference. But women in general, we've got this cycle that we go through every month. We then got the cycle of where we are in our lifespan as to which part of that chunk and we're going in. But I think there is that element of when you're fully aligned and you're able to speak from an aligned place, then you do get heard a little bit more. Maybe not as much as we would like to be heard, but I think and I hope that things are changing from that perspective too.
Over
And
that,
I went a
Jennifer.
very meandering journey there, didn't I?
Well, and it's so interesting, right? Because you're talking about being heard, and in human design, we know that the throat, when it's defined, has the ability to just speak, and it has certain voices that it can speak with that hold an authority for it. When it is undefined, it needs to be invited to speak. Now, it has beautiful things to say, but without that invitation, it doesn't get heard. And so, we have those experiences where somebody talks like, my youngest has an undefined throat and would just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And we got to the point where it was just like zoned out. And then we weren't even giving authority to it because we weren't inviting him to speak. My eldest has a defined throat with the channel of the alpha. When it was a decision between who to believe, there was a tendency always to believe my eldest over my youngest because of the way that their chart was. And we got to a point where I love human design for this, because I was able to sit down with both of them and go, oh, I get it now. I understand what's happening. I understand what's getting pulled from me because of what's defined in you. And then I was able to give my youngest more of a voice and to hold that space and to not always listen to my eldest about things. But without understanding the mechanics of what was happening, it just was very unfair. And so when we look at, do we have a voice? How do we use our voice? What does that look like? There are beautiful tools that we can find within the human design system that help us enhance that.
You're okay, Leslie, you're defined on that one.
My throat. Yeah, I kind of realised that because it never shuts up.
But again, as Jennifer was saying, that if it's not defined and it never shuts up, then you're not being listened to.
Yeah.
I can make that happen.
What, to not be
Sometimes,
listened to?
well, either or.
Mhm. Yeah. It's really interesting too when we look at the designs in terms of strategy and authority. And I think this is where so much of maybe even Mary, like you were saying with clients and looking at going, what is it that you're doing and stepping into, and how are you making the decisions to step into those things? Because each one of the aura types has a strategy that it's supposed to honor. And so what you were saying about like most of the world, and I appreciated when Rob talked about this, was that the world is made to tell you the Nike, just do it, right? Just go and do it. Push through, just do it. Only 10% of the population, manifestors, are made to just do it. Everybody else has to wait for something. And this is so incredible because we are told, go, 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 go. And that's not how we're meant to operate. So generators and manifesting generators have to respond. They have to respond to whatever it is that lights them up. It could be a song, something somebody says, whatever it is. But if they wait to respond, then they're going to know, is this right for me or not? Reflectors have to wait a whole lunar cycle, which is a whole other thing we could get into at some point. It's less than 1% of the population, although I know quite a few reflectors. um, um, but then as projectors, that 20%, we have to be invited into something. So if I push for something, it never goes well. But if I have somebody say, hey, Jen, would you be interested in doing this? I can then determine, is that invitation correct for me or not? And decide, yes, I want to, or no, I don't. Right? But there's all these other ways that we are meant to interact with each other, that if we're not honoring it, we end up bumping against walls and things go sideways and we have all of these issues. And then we're going, why are things just not working out? But our energy isn't being used in a way that is true for us. And that's when we end up having all of these issues.
I think I had a dream about that yesterday. It's an interesting dream. It was a bit weird. Even for me, it was a bit weird. I'd left something somewhere, left my bag somewhere, and it was in a space where I wouldn't normally be. And I was told to go up these stairs, and every set of stairs that I got to, there was just a wall. The stairs ended in a wall. So I had to come back down the stairs and go and find another one that ended in another wall. And then I
You
went into
obviously
a
knew
room
you
and
were
there
going to
was
have
a
this conversation.
well, yeah, but basically, then I went into this room. There's a break dancing tortoise, which was really, quite off the wall to a certain extent. So I didn't really know what to do with that. I was still in the same house.
I'm really glad that I'm not in your head, Leslie.
Sometimes I'm kind of concerned that I am.
Joy.
But then I get to do things like this, so that's really quite interesting.
Hmm. So Jennifer, at the start you were talking about your profile. You've not touched on profiles. And you did say you were a 1-3, didn't you?
Mm.
So all three of you are 1-3s.
Eh?
So therefore, Jennifer can explain all about what that means for both of you.
Okay, so
I forgot you
profile.
had done you did my profile at some stage, did you? Yeah. Completely
Yeah,
forgotten about it.
profiles. Yeah, profiles are based. Okay, so break it down. So we have our aura type, which is like the main energy that we embody. And then we have the strategy that goes with that. And then we have an authority, and the authority is based on the definition within our chart. And there's a hierarchy there. If your solar plexus is defined, that is your definition. If it's not and you're a generator, then it's sacral. And it keeps going down through the line. So then it's spleen, and then will, and then G, and then ajna. Those are that's kind of like the hierarchy of it, depending on definition. So generators, manifesting generators, you're either sacral or solar plexus. It's one or the other. But for everybody else, it can be everything but sacral. So that's like how we make decisions in the world. Then we have what we call our incarnation cross. And our incarnation cross is our purpose for being here. It's not something that we can make happen. It's something that if we're living in alignment, we do. If we're living out of alignment, we don't. Okay. And then our profile is how we live our incarnation cross. It's how we step into that energy. So there's 1 through 6, just like each of the lines of the hexagram for the I Ching. And the first line is kind of the foundation line. The first line loves to deep dive. It wants to get all the info. And in order to feel good about something, it has to have the info so that it feels confident about sharing about something. The thing is, the 1 and the 3 play with each other. The third line is about play. I want to have fun. I want to experiment. I want to see what this is. So the 1 deep dives, and then the 3 goes, that's enough. I'm going to go play now. And then the 1 goes, oh, okay, I got to learn more about this. And then the 3 goes, okay, now let's go play. And so there's this constant back and forth of energy between needing to go deeper and understand more, and then let me go play and see how this works. Then we also have, like I said, the 2. So 1, 2, and 3 are the bottom half of the hexagram. Those are personal. They're things that we need to figure out within ourselves. And then the 4, 5, 6 are transpersonal. So those are energies that we have to do out and about within the community. So the 1 is the investigator, the 2 is the hermit, and the 3 they call the martyr. But it's that idea of like, I have to figure it out for myself. The example for that is you're at a campfire and everybody goes, stand back from the fire, it's really hot. The line 1 might go, let me read about fires and figure out what's going on here. The line 2 is like, yeah, I'm not even coming out to the fire. I'm going to hermit myself away. The line 3 goes, hot, walks right up to the fire, goes, holy crap, that's hot. Turns around and goes, everybody, yep, it actually is hot. The line 4 is the networker. Everything is going to be through their network of people. So did you test the fire? Is it hot? Did you know where are you going? What are we doing? Should we all go to look at the fire? What are we doing with the fire, right? We're doing it together. So the 5 is, sorry, my dog is like scratching crazy. The 5 line is the heretic. And the heretic is that because it's a projected line. And all that means is that the 5 line is either looked at as the hero of the situation or the villain of the situation. There's not always much in between. And the 5 line often doesn't feel seen because they're always being projected upon. And so what happens with the 5 line is the 5 line might come in and go, I'll take care of the fire. If the 5 line knows how to take care of a fire, they're going to be able to do that. And everybody's going to go, oh, yay, 5 line took care of us. If the 5 line says, yeah, I'm going to take care of the fire, and then they know nothing about taking care of the fire, everybody's going to go, that 5 line messed up the fire, and it's all their fault that the fire's not okay, right? They get that kind of energy put on them. And then the 6 line is the role model. And you were talking about stages, Leslie, and this is very much to that. So the 6th line has 3 stages that it lives. The first stage is about until age 30. And this is where they live often like a 3. They're bumping up against things, they're trying things aren't going well, they're having a real hard time kind of figuring out what to do, which leads them to the second stage, which is about 30 to 50. And this is what they call up on the roof. And during this time, they're going, all right, I didn't do so well with all this, so I'm going to watch all of you and see what you do with all of this. And then during that time, they're starting to integrate. Oh, I did that, but you did this. Okay, I see how that works. Okay, and they're putting it all together. And so then the final stage of that time is when they really step into the role model, where they go, this is everything I've learned, and this is what I have to share. And so then they're able to bring that wisdom forward and share that with people. So those are the lines, and the way that they work. I don't have it on that chart. Give me a second. Now I'm trying to find a chart that shows it. Okay, if you go to your human design charts, on either side, you'll see a bunch of numbers. And each of those numbers has one of the 1 through 64 of the gates. Okay, that's what makes up our definition in the chart. And then each one has a decimal, and then it has 1 through 6. So those top two on either side, they're going to determine what your profile is. And the way that it works is they're always like, anyway, I'm getting too into the weeds with like how to figure it all out. Basically, when you know your design, you just look up the energies of those. The first number is the personality number. That's generally what we have access to, where we go, yeah, that's a lot like me. The red side, often it's red, black and red, is the design side. And that's the side where it's more of our subconscious, where we go, yeah, I get that a lot. Right? So we recognize these two energies that are happening. And when we look at, okay, how do I want to step into this? We want to figure out the way that these two things resonate within us. And that's going to help us live our purpose.
I just the way you described the 1 and the 3 and that deep dive in that play, it's just Leslie. I need to see a bit more of the play from Mary, but the Leslie deep diving and playing and fighting between I'm going to deep dive, I'm going to play. I can totally see that in you, Leslie.
Actually, I play when I deep dive. That's
Exactly.
my idea of playing.
Yes.
Because
Which to
when I
me
was
says that you've massively embodied your design.
okay, we'll have to talk about that another time. But basically, yeah, I always went into the minutiae of things if it was something that I thought was going to be difficult, so that I wouldn't get bored with the difficult stuff if I could see something really, really interesting. Because to get to the interesting stuff, I'd have to do the boring stuff. And I actually got into trouble for it. At least, one particular time when I was training as a vet nurse, and we were doing the anatomy of the heart, and I started drawing it out, every single fibre, every little tricuspid, bicuspid valve, the whole lot was going down on paper. And my head nurse came in and she said, "What are you doing that for? You're wasting your time." And I tried to explain to her, if I do this, I'll do that. Because I have to know that to know what's going on here. And I think that's why I like surgery so much. So if you want to cut into things and you want to realize what's going on in your life, you could have another look at this. Maybe take a deep dive. Maybe find a little bit of stuff that interests you and then run about for a while like an Energizer bunny trying to figure out what's going on. Or you could talk to somebody who does human design. Whatever it is, if it helps you to understand maybe the patterns that you're displaying, that you're acting out, that keep you stuck where you are, maybe your battery's put in wrong. Maybe you just got a jolt and part of it's not just connected quite right. Maybe that's why your energy's going all over the place. Maybe you could consider, if you are of a generation, like between your 60s and 70s and onwards, maybe you would like to maybe re-implant the battery and have a look and see what happens. I don't know. You could find yourself doing anything. But then again, that's me. What about you? What do you want to do? Why don't you think about it very hard? Then take a little walk. See how it feels. And discover what you discover. But when you come back around again, you might believe and see that that little walk did you a lot of good, cleared your mind, and allowed you to understand just a bit more of what we were talking about today. Because I'm going to have to go and do that now. So we'll see you next time.